good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It depends where you're when you are right now. Let's a little bit stretch right now, Piotr. Let's put the camera on Piotr right now. Yeah, we have it. There is this, huge news, because maybe even I don't know Piotr for the last 17 years, but I know that he cut the bird. When actually, Piotr?
So most people have never seen me without my bird. So it's been 17 years when I actually cut it. So
17 years.
That's my new look, but just for a couple of weeks. It's gonna grow eventually, so it's gonna be good. But you might be surprised that that's what I look like when I'm like 15 years younger.
So this is the new Piotr, 17 years younger. Yep. CTO VP. You will tell more about yourself in a sec on a presentation deck. Mm-hmm. We know it. But I will come back to the 17 years a few times, because this is quite a long story for the technology part. And we are right now in something in the middle. We'll talk about the KubeVirt, of course, today. So you will see how we perceive and see the market these days, and what is changing, what we need to emphasize, and maybe we'll give you a few hints where the market is going, especially in the virtualization and the containerization part at the same time, because the KubeVirt gives you both options. And Piotr definitely will go and deep dive how this technology will change the future, actually. Mm-hmm. Yes,
that's correct.
And that's how correct. The Piotr looks like in 17 years with the new bird. Okay, anything else before we'll start?
No, let's dive in. Let's discuss KubeVirt. It's really sexy, and it's a very hot topic, so I think let's not waste any more time and let's move on.
Let's go on.
Yeah, cool. So welcome everybody. My name is Piotr Baranowski. And this time, we're going to have like 60 minutes ish presentation about KubeVirt, what it is, and why do I consider it to be the future next step where you're going to get eventually. Okay, so the title of the presentation is to virt or not to virt? And the answer to that is KubeVirt. It's a little, language joke. I mean, it's funny in my head. So first of all, you need to know who you're talking to. So you might ask, who is this guy again? So who is it?
Without bird?
Yeah. So, and why do I believe that I am the source of the truth? Why do I consider myself a source of the knowledge that you might find useful? So, as I said, my name is Piotr Baranowski, and I'm a CTO and VP of OSEC. It's a Polish open source education center, educational training company. And purely because of my work, I believe I have the special set of skills. Now I wanted to quote a movie. You know which one?
Go on.
No.
No worries.
So over 20 years of working in this industry, after 20 years of teaching people, I believe I have some idea of what IT market, especially its open source part, is all about. So if I were to categorize myself quickly, I'm a RHCE, RHCI, RHCX, RHCDSS, RHCSS, and RHC, you put any other random character from the alphabet, which pretty means that I am a war-decorated hero when it comes to Red Hat certifications. I'm mostly working with Red Hat technologies, and it's going to be one of the main tunes of that presentation. I've been doing that since 2003. So it's been a while. I'm mostly working
18 years, not 17. Gosh.
No.
So you started your bird after a year.
That's
okay,
correct.
So we can connect it. Okay,
yeah.
Go on.
So I started working in 2001 as the instructor, but in 2003 I officially became RHCE and RHCI, so the instructor and the engineer. I consider myself a hacker. I like hacking wood and I like hacking software, both meanings of the word. I'm a sailor. I'm a renowned sailor. I started doing this quite not long ago, and I really love it. And I'm a self-proclaimed rally driver. I try not to destroy my car while going fast around corners.
Just a joke. I saw him an hour ago, and this guy was eating some burger on his car, and I said, "Come on inside. Now it's a COVID time. I will eat outside."
Yeah, exactly.
So definitely, he's know what he's doing right now.
So the question is, why do I believe that I'm the right person to talk to you about the topic? And why do I believe that I have a right to make some statements that you might find, helpful in your future decisions? And first of all, it's my experience. I've been doing this for a long time. It's not necessarily means that I know exactly what I'm doing. I've just been doing this for many years. So that counts as one. My work is mostly about exploring and being ahead of the crowd. Okay, I always have to be ahead of everybody else. So right now I'm doing things that you will consider as interesting options 2 years from now. And I'm serious. I'm doing stuff that will be big hit in next 2 years. So what we're discussing right now, for me, is not really that groundbreaking. It's just something that hits the market right now. And that's pretty cool.
So it's not predicting the future; it's actually the future. This is what's going on right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always been a bleeding edge guy. So going with the unstable, going with the betas. Actually, my system right now, this is Fedora 34 beta. Why? Because I wanted to test a couple of cool new features, and it works beautiful. GNOME 40, baby, GNOME 40. So yeah, those are the things that I believe qualify me as the source of the knowledge. Now the big question is, so what's the deal? So what are we talking about, first of all? And first we need to dive into a little bit of history first. So where are we right now and why we are there? That's the big question. So long time ago in a galaxy far away, no, because of the copyright issues, they're gonna demonetize the video. No, we can't go with the Star Wars theme. But I believe that most of you, if you are in your 20s, then you definitely witness these technologies. If you're in your 30s, then for sure you've seen this stuff happen in the past 10-ish years, maybe 10, 15 years. It all started with the software virtualization, okay? So by that time, VMware was the king of the hill. They were actually the groundbreaking company, because I believe they were the only ones who were producing software that allowed emulation at that particular quality. The old ESX, the old GSX, and on other and workstation software, that was really something. And then Intel and AMD, they developed the technology that allows to offload. I don't want to get into too many details, but I believe most of you know that these modern CPUs are equipped with the set of instructions which allow us to execute a code in a privileged mode. So userland code can be executed in the privileged mode, which allows us to run it almost at the bare metal performance. And that's basically what VTX is. In case of Intel, in case of AMD, they have their own acronyms that describe this technology. But basically, it was the game changer. So now you were able to run your emulator, and the emulator would run at almost native speed, which was really awesome. Historically, all the emulated operating systems, they were running slow as hell, really, really sluggish. Then QEMU happened. Now, QEMU is a software emulator written by a French developer, and it was groundbreaking because it allowed a couple of very cool things, like cross-architecture emulation, for instance. You could run MIPS on Intel or Spark on anything else.
What
right?
was which year it was, the QEMU?
The QEMU?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't remember. I mean, we could check on Wikipedia, but that's not the point.
We'll do it. No
yeah, go for it. But it's been a couple of years. And then KVM happened. And now I have a little mission here that I need to do something here. I need to debunk the myth, and I like debunking, incorrect terms. KVM is not the emulation software. Okay, KVM is a mechanism in the Linux kernel that allows your applications to reach this special set of CPU instructions. So when we are virtualizing systems in Linux, we don't use KVM. Well, we are using KVM as an engine, but the actual emulation is done by QEMU. Then what happened is like at the next stage of development, the next thing was multi-host virtualization. So initially, we just had mostly workstation virtualization. So you could run multiple instances of different operating systems on your own machine and learn how to use them without constantly reinstalling and reformatting your disks. That was a single host. that was a single host virtualization. But eventually, as virtualization became more and more popular, there was a niche in the market that we need something for multi-host emulation. So there were like two players in the market. I'm not talking about VMware because they were the market leader. I'm talking about the contenders. And those are like Proxmox and mostly Overt or Rev or RHV, depending on which year we're referring to. The Overt is an upstream project. The RHV is a downstream product by Red Hat. And those are the virtualization solutions. So you can run multiple hosts that increases the capacity. You can run multiple virtual machines. You can interconnect them, create virtual networks, and manage them at scale. And that was pretty cool.
What's your personal opinion between the Proxmox and the Overt, so the upstream and the RHV as a downstream? We have also Oracle Linux Virtualization Manager since last year.
Okay, so Oracle Virtualization Manager is pretty much Overt. It's basically a CentOS to it. So I don't want to get political here, but I don't think that Oracle actually contributed any meaningful changes to it. So they basically took the Overt project, build their own version, and they ship it as their own product. It's a free software. You can do that. No one can prohibit you from doing this.
So the Red Hat is a little bit changed. So downstream with some improvements here.
Yeah,
so you can see the changes.
Just like most upstream projects or open source projects, whenever they are being taken by Red Hat as their products, they are being stabilized. They are being tested thoroughly tested, well documented, and then Red Hat develops internal consulting skills, so they can offer professional services with that software. But talking about the multi-host virtualization platforms, Proxmox and Overt were the kings of the hill by the time. So they were like slightly sharing market. So that's what was and still is. And the funny thing is that we don't have any new players in this area. If you look carefully at the open source projects, there are no better versions of Overt. There is no better version of Proxmox. There is nothing cooking up in the labs. At least I'm not aware of anything meaningful.
One thing is that I don't know if you heard about the XCP-ng, the open. So when the Citrix decided to go to the much more paid options, there is an open source project called XCP-ng, but it's a Xen-based hypervisor.
Okay, so I've lost my interest in Xen-based systems in 2012 probably.
Yeah. So they raised 3 years. There was some movement, but
someone in the chat mentioned that Xen is effectively dead, and I think it's not entirely true, because I believe that majority of the AWS platform is running Xen-based hypervisor.
But they move into the KVM.
They're moving to KVM, and they announced that they are moving fast. But those are like gossips. Don't quote me on that, okay? But basically, Xen as an idea was weird, and definitely it was there for some period of time. It was there. Everybody was crazy about it. Was the first open source serious hypervisor. It was eventually replaced by QEMU plus KVM, but before that we just had Xen. So you ask me which of them do I consider better? They are different. They are targeted at different audiences, and I'd say that Proxmox is more for SME, and Rev is for larger enterprises. Yeah, so I would say that's the biggest difference between them. And then clouds happened. So we don't have any new contenders. We don't have any new open source virtualization projects. Everything is cloud right now. And I mean, like, we have everything as a service today. Everything. The world has gone completely crazy. Okay, so we have everything as a service. And the marketing teams at multiple companies, they are getting really creative, inventing new crop as a service thingies. So the everything as a service shift of interest, basically it means that everybody lost interest in traditional virtualization and everybody moved towards the container world. So we have containers everywhere. Now everybody is K8s crazy. So Kubernetes. Yeah, that was, what was his name? The Steve Ballmer. He could sing developers. I'm doing the Kubernetes. No, everything is Kubernetes based today. Everybody's crazy about Kubernetes, and there's a massive market. There's a massive market for that. And I see huge amount of companies shifting towards container platforms, whether Kubernetes based or some variations of that product. But this is the new big thing right now. And now that creates a little problem. Yeah. Container, anybody? I know this picture I'll get outdated yesterday because the ship was moved away, but as you can see, this ship is full of containers.
I saw some memes and GIFs, and I think in each country, whatever you are right now, we've seen our prime minister who is keep the steer and saying the kind of the propaganda. There's an open question right now to you. What kind of the best meme you've seen with the containers and with this Suez Channel here?
Well, the funny thing it wasn't actually a meme. It was a situation that happened to me. I was at the train station in the city of Gdańsk. I was waiting for a train that was supposed to take me back to Warsaw, and the train arrived, and it was called Docker. And it was the funny thing is that I was just minding my own stuff. I was thinking about something intensively, and suddenly, just out of nowhere, a train stopped in front of me. I raised my head, and it says Docker. It's like, the hell is going on here? And I was thinking about containers after like 5 days of course delivery when I was discussing containers, and that bloody thing appears. Like, no, this has to stop. This is madness.
Did you have open Facebook on your phone? Maybe that's why.
No. Actually, I was watching a presentation about containers. Yeah, that makes it even worse. So, before we move on to this comparison between containers and VMs, there's one more thing I would like to address. Is hold on a second. What was my thought? Right. So a lot of open source enthusiasts, a lot of people that I know about, I'm not saying they are suffering from that, but they have symptoms of serious ADD, attention deficit disorder, right? So, by the way, do you know how to characterize ADD quickly? Oh, look, a kitty. That's pretty much what it is. So you're talking about something, and like, whoop, you lose your attention, and you focus on something new. So back in
where's my mouse? Where's my mouse?
Am I allowed to say any profanities in here? Or okay. So there is a term that I actually, one of my friends created this term many years ago, and I consider it to be absolutely true about myself. I'm a distro whore. Okay. And that means that I'm changing my distributions, and you got the idea where I'm going to that, right? So I was changing my distributions back and forth multiple times because, oh, look, they have a new compiler. Yeah, let's show that. Oh, they have new way of compiling this. Yeah, let's go there. They have a new kernel. Yeah. And I was changing my systems. Like, I could do this, and I'm not making this up. I could change my my operating system 4 times a week just to see how new FreeBSD kernel is working.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends, for them, it's like, yeah, so what about it? It's normal. Everybody does that. That's my point. We are into some certain technology. We love it. We cherish it. We deep dive into it. And then something new comes up. It's like, oh, I don't love it anymore. Let's go that way. That's pretty much what happens. And that's what happened with virtualization and containers. Now, everybody wants to be, AWS associate, a Google certified somebody, or Microsoft Azure certified whoever. Nobody wants to deal with traditional virtualization. It's for old people.
Yeah, it's not sexy. You need to containerize right now. So that's why it's interesting what will be the future here and how long we'll keep with the virtualization. I'm not talking about the VMware or the Hyper-V itself, which they have a majority of the market. But even what the VMware does right now is that, okay, we have this virtualization stack, but maybe go to the PKS or Tanzu or whatever they cannot officially say, forget about the virtualization.
Yeah, that's not, how do you say, you don't slay a hand that plays golden eggs, right?
Yeah.
So they wouldn't do that. I'd say it's the core of their business. So they can't say a bad word about it. My point is that a lot of people that I know of, they shifted their attention from traditional, more or less sophisticated virtualization into containers. Now everybody is container friendly. So I have this little comparison between the benefits of both platforms or both approaches. So containers versus VMs, how are they different? So first of all, containers are lightweight. Definitely they are lightweight. They are lighter than any virtual machine you can imagine, because you don't have to emulate the operating system. You don't have to copy the kernel. You don't have to copy the libraries. It's a very lightweight thing. It starts very quickly. And in contrast, VM is considered heavy. Okay, we are not comparing these two things against bare metal, because that would be completely unfair. We're just comparing VMs and containers. So comparing to containers, VMs are heavy. What else we have there is containers are software isolated. So we are using software mechanisms either in the kernel, in the user space, or some libraries or mechanisms in the kernel and operating system to isolate processes from each other. Containers are most of the time single purpose. They're built to do one thing and one thing properly. Like there's a web server, there's a database server, there's a caching service, there's a front end or load balancer, or you name it. Like any application you want, it just sits in a container and it's contained in it, and it does only one thing at a time. What else we have is that containers are, their life cycle is software defined. It's not a matter of running command podman run, podman kill, blah, blah, blah. Nobody does that. We need software that will do it for us. And containers have this wonderful automation suite that allows us to just, orchestrate them on a small scale, but also on a massive scale. So we also have that thing, orchestration. So containers are mostly orchestrated, which means there is some sort of software that will coordinate massive life cycle states of multiple containers at the same time.
Yeah, you've never thought about the VMs in this kind of the way.
Exactly.
Because the VMs shouldn't be stateless. The VMs should stay for longer time.
Virtual machines are stateful, and containers are stateless.
Yes.
So that way we can restart 10,000 containers and what's going to happen? Now, if you
try to do it in the virtualization world.
Now, if you shut down
be my guest.
Now, if you have a data center based on virtual machines and you shut down the wrong hypervisor, oops, somebody's gonna have a bad day. So what else we have here is they are very easy to work with. That's one of the greatest things about containers. Well, I've been teaching containerization for the last 6-7 years, mostly Docker, Podman, OpenShift, and Kubernetes, and I see a pattern here. Whomever I have in the classroom, no matter how good or how bad they are. Okay, even the beginners, people who never touched Linux systems at all, they can get up to speed and start managing containers within 4 days. Now, I know that it takes a couple of weeks or months to become a really skilled system administrator. Of course, these two topics are, they are completely improportional. Being a container admin means dealing with single process, couple of config files and the platform, while managing virtual machine. That's a very complex topic that relates to multiple different areas of expertise. So they are easy to work with, and they have absolutely wonderful rapid adoption. I mean, I have never seen, I've been in the IT industry since 1998. Technically speaking, that was the first year when I got hired. So professionally, since 1998, I have never seen a technology to penetrate the market that fast. I mean, I dare you. Come on, I challenge you. Find something in your memory.
I'm trying right now to figure it out.
That got faster than that.
Yeah, even the cloud. Of course, it's absurd.
I know one thing that was faster than that.
Go on.
Outsourcing. Remember that was like what, 2006, 2005, when everybody started to outsource everything. Within 1 year, we moved to outsourcing. Hello, my friend. So we outsourced everything.
Even Konrad, you told me about this outsourcing last time from the McDonald's. Yeah, in US, he came. You don't see Konrad. Konrad is right now with us as an operator and the video master here. And he drive through the McDonald's drive through, and he was hello. and he was, where is this guy? And it was outsourcing from India into McDonald's, and they have a project for the several months, and of course it was collapsed. But you're hearing from
hello McDonald's, how can I help you?
Yeah, just go to the third one.
No, I have this tune in my head.
A crazy idea.
Do you want rice with that? No, didn't mean to offend anybody. It's just funny. So those are the pros of containers. Now, if you look at the VMs, they have significantly bigger overhead, especially at scale. So, I don't want to quote any figures here, but you can imagine that a single instance of Windows Server requires 8 gigabytes of memory to do nothing. Or a single instance of RHEL's 8 system, after it boots up with no applications, will consume 1 gigabyte of memory. Mm-hmm. And you could consider this a wasted memory whenever you multiply the system, whenever you create clones. Like if you run 100 machines, you have 100 gigabytes of memory consumed by identical copies of the system. Of course, we have tech for that. We have KSM, which merges identical memory pages, but still the idea is that the overhead is massive. And the funny thing is that the more machines you have, the less machines you can have.
What I also see a problem when you moved from the physical, everybody was so happy that they started to forget about the consumption itself.
Exactly.
From the specific VMs.
Yeah.
And if you have 100 and you have 10% of some wasted VM that's still running, it's not a problem.
Exactly.
But if you're going into the huge environments like 10,000 of the VMs, and if you do an audit, then you realize that 3 terabytes of the RAM
it's consumed by God
nothing,
knows what.
But you get in power. You need to horsepower to make it happen.
Yeah. So it's a huge problem in data centers for larger companies that have really a lot of virtual machines. First of all, because it's very easy to spawn a VM. So whenever you need to experiment on something, you basically create a request and somebody creates it for you. And if you eventually you're gonna get a lot of ghost VMs. Then they are traditionally managed. They are multi-purpose. The virtual machines, they are individually managed. So they have their own owners. They have managers who manage them, and they require deep skills to manage the operating system. So I'd say those are the biggest differences. Now, so the question is, will containers replace VMs eventually? Ta-da! My prediction is no, they won't. Now, because, first of all, definitely not right now. And I don't think it's going to happen within the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. Because we still need virtual machines. There are situations when we need them. So it's not like we're going to abandon virtualization and just move over to containers, because this is not the ultimate solution to all possible problems. Sometimes we need virtual machines. There are some corner cases. There are some situations when applications cannot be containerized, or they're very difficult to containerize.
This is why I also think that we've been developing the applications since last 20 years, and the VMs was a part of the deal. Mm-hmm. from the new workloads.
Exactly.
And it's even the only case when you move in is that you see the clear benefit after you move in, but some legacy systems are not ready to do.
That's right.
Even in 5 years, they won't be ready.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say this is the same case as television versus radio. When the radio appeared in the 50s, 60s, for major population, people thought that the radio is dead. 2021, radio is still perfectly in shape. And it's gonna be there because they have different purposes. They have different reasons to be there.
Audiences even.
Yeah. So virtual machines are gonna stay there. So first of all, the problem is that virtual machines and container platforms don't share common infra. Usually it is deployed that the container platform is deployed on its own dedicated infrastructure. So it has new servers that company acquired. To have a separate to take a next step. And to cut off the old slab, mm-hmm. They just want to start it fresh. So they have a new floor in the data center, a new set of machines, a new set of VLANs. So usually container platforms are separated from the other systems, and that creates a problem. How are they going to cooperate? And we don't want to create, technological islands. We don't want to isolate things too much. So another problem is that if we want to have virtualization platform and containers, it means we have double the costs, we have double effort, double trouble in case of issues. We need to double stuff because somebody has to manage this stuff. Yeah. And it's very rare situation when guys managing virtual platform are also specializing in containers.
a different start. There are some common.
There are some common things like Linux as operating system.
But I think in the DevOps movement, they would like to. They even want to go there without this, legacy VM.
There's one more problem. I know of a lot of sysadmins, traditional sysadmins, long-bearded guys,
like myself,
like I used to be, and they don't want to adapt the DevOps. They don't want to adapt the GitOps. They don't want to hear about CI/CD. For them, it's like a blasphemy. They want to stay with the old days. I'm really feeling sorry for these people, but there's a lot of guys like that, and the company wants to move on with the containers, and they basically cannot reuse their existing resources, human resources, to utilize containers. So the question is, how about we manage both worlds? How about we merge both worlds? That's merge and eventually manage together. So that sounds like a cool idea. What if we can combine both? So is there a way to do that? Well, here comes KubeVirt. And I must start with a little disclaimer that KubeVirt is nowhere related to Overt. This project, they sound similar, but they are completely unrelated. They are not based on each other. They are not related, affiliated. It's just a coincidental, similar name. Now, if I were to characterize what KubeVirt is, these 4 lines exactly tell you what it is. If you're into Kubernetes, that these 4 lines explain you what's going on here. So we are creating a resource from the file called appserve VM YAML. Then we waiting for the condition to have a value of ready as you can see, the VMIS resource type called appserve VM. So we're waiting for it to be ready. Then we can list it, and then eventually we're gonna delete it, right? So those are this is the life cycle of the virtual machine whenever you manage it with the KubeVirt. And in this particular case, we are using the kubectl command, which is not the only way of doing that. We have additional command line utilities, but that's pretty much everything. Now, if you don't want to stay with us until the end of the hour, the long story short is that KubeVirt is QEMU plus KVM plus Kubernetes plus CRD plus OLM. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
So we could finalize this webinar in 2 minutes. So
exactly.
Why we are talking about it 30 minutes? What's going on here?
Look, I told you it's gonna. Well, this was my challenge. Can I make it shorter than 1 hour? Yay! 33 minutes. We're done. No, but seriously, in long term, basically, it's the combination of these technologies together. So there's a lot of text on the slides. There's like 3 major points that describe what KubeVirt is and what kind of mission it tries to accomplish. It addresses the needs of development teams that have adopted or want to adopt Kubernetes, but possess existing virtual machine-based workloads that cannot be easily containerized. So if we're supposed to translate that into plain English, VMs are the new legacy. And the thing that really surprises me is that, goddamn, that escalated quickly. It's like, when was the last time we decided that bare metal is legacy? That was 2005-ish.
Yes.
To 2021, we consider virtual machines to be legacy.
So you mean that there is no sense to right now comparing these technologies?
No, they do different stuff, and the amount of features and amount of cool stuff you can do with containers absolutely outnumbers the features of virtualization. So the question is, what's going to happen? Are we going to abandon virtualization and just focus entirely on containers? Definitely, this is not the way to go. So let's move on to the feature number 2. More specifically, the technology provides a unified development platform when developers can build, modify, and deploy applications residing on both application containers as well as virtual machines in a common shared environment. Okay,
really nice sentence.
So it means we can easily blend VMs and containers. So we have the same platform, the same set of servers, the same storage technologies, the same networking technologies we are using for containers, and now we're basically going to pull in virtual machines into that beautiful brand new world of containers. So it's not that virtual machines are going to die eventually, because of the old age. We're going to change the way virtual machines are being managed. And that's a wonderful idea. Step number 3. Oh God, this is a lot of text.
It's not Microsoft Teams.
No. Teams, I mean the groups of people working together, unlike Microsoft Teams. Did I say it out loud?
No.
No. Teams with reliance on existing virtual machine-based workloads are empowered to rapidly containerize applications. With virtualized workloads placed directly in development workflows, teams can decompose them over time while still leveraging remaining virtualized components as is comfortably desired.
And the admin during the sentence started to sleep.
Yeah.
It was so long.
And the idea is that if you have virtual machines with this project, as you can blend together virtual machines and containers to exist right next to each other, you can easily migrate VM-based workloads to be containerized. So before that, it was really difficult, SCP, copying images, moving files between VLANs, and all this difficult crap. Now it becomes very easy because the VM is residing in the same project or namespace. If you're talking Kubernetes, they can live together in the same namespace. They can talk to each other using services. We can even expose them like we expose Kubernetes services. So that's pretty cool. So we can blend them together. What you're going to do with the virtual machines eventually is up to you, but that opens a possibility of you basically decomposing. It's a nasty word. It allows you to dissect, and take individual building blocks of your applications out of the VMs, containerize them, and you can fall back at any time, which is absolutely wonderful. So the question is, why did I call it DataCenter 3.0? Well, bare metal to VM transition was considered DataCenter 2.0. Before that, we just had legacy systems, old Unisys like Solaris, HP Unix, Digital Unix, AIX systems in the data centers, and some Linux machines on bare metal and some Windows servers if somebody was brave enough.
So 2.0 was 20 years ago.
That was pretty much 20 years. Yeah. You could say that this transition to virtualize everything was like 2004-ish, 2005-ish, basically. So that was DC 2.0. And I believe that right now we are having transition to DC 3.0 because we are transitioning from VMs to containers. And like I said before, I don't think that this VM branch will die out. It's going to stay there. It's just going to stay. It's going to change the way it is being managed.
Redefine the data center, actually.
We define the data center. And that piece of software, the way I love it, the reason I love it is that it is absolutely complete solution. It's like it gives you everything you need to do that. So that's what I say. It's that's why I say it's a data center 3.0. So what can you do with the Kubernetes? So now there's going to be a couple of slides with lots of text on them, but to make it quick, you can create and manage your virtual machines with KubeVirt. Of course, KubeVirt is basically a Kubernetes extension. It's a Kubernetes operator that very nicely integrates with the OLM, the operator lifecycle manager. And basically, this operator extends the Kubernetes API with new custom resource definitions that allow Kubernetes to recognize a new kind of objects. I'd say the most important one is called virtual machine. So probably that Kubernetes has pods, services, it has routes, it has containers, it has, what do we have? Daemon sets, replica sets, whole bunch of different API objects. Now, that KubeVirt extends that with a couple of new ones, including virtual machine. So you basically create a YAML file, YAML definition that describes not the container, but the virtual machine. And with a couple of nice additions, it basically allows you to run virtual machines right next to your containers on your container nodes. So no matter if it's pure Kubernetes or it's a OpenShift, it allows you to leverage the KVM and QEMU to start your virtual machines. What else you can do is you can connect to the virtual machines using a variety of different consoles, right? So we can access them over RDP, over serial console, over VNC, or SPICE. You can import and you can clone existing virtual machines. This is pretty awesome. That's one of the possible problems is that, okay, we have this KubeVirt thingy. What about my existing virtual machines? So there are nice tools which allow you to basically, pull in the images from your storage and then just make them virtual machines on the KubeVirt, which is pretty awesome. And there are side projects like Project Coriolis, which allows you to not only, I think they call the term OS morphing. So they morph the system from one platform to another. Like they can fetch the system from the OpenStack.
OS morphing.
OS morphing, yeah. So they transition system from the OpenStack, for instance, and then change it to OVIRT, or from OVIRT to Azure, or from Azure to something else. And also one of the destinations of Coriolis is KubeVirt. And it allows you to really nicely pull in virtual machines from the existing hypervisors. All right, so we can also manage network interfaces, we can manage your disks, we can specify how systems boot, and we can very nicely support, we can configure, we can customize the amount of resources your virtual machines will be given. And all this stuff can be done from Kubernetes CLI, OpenShift CLI, or OpenShift Web UI, which is really easy to do. Just a new button on the web UI, a click or virtualization, blank, and there's a whole web form that allows you to create a VM.
I tested it. It's incredible how fast and
how easy it is.
Yeah.
It's like, God, I just created a virtual machine. It has never been that easy. So now let's go quickly through a couple of cool features, which I consider to be cool features of KubeVirt. It supports live migration. So you can define your virtual machine on the Kubernetes cluster. It's going to be running on one of the nodes. And pretty much there's only one big requirement: the data storage, the data volume, as it's called, where your virtual machine is stored, has to be read-write many. And in that case, you can basically switch over the virtual machine from one hypervisor to another seamlessly without any downtime. So that's one of the cool things. Then we have full component monitoring. So the way KubeVirt is written, it exposes its Prometheus compatible metrics at the slash metrics URL. So Prometheus can not only detect, but also automatically pull in the statistics from your KubeVirt instances, which is pretty awesome. So monitoring that is completely automatic. We have a lot of cool tricks. How can you assign where your virtual machines will be allocated? So we have a node selectors, just like with regular pods. You know that you can create a node selector statement in your spec definition of the pod and specify that you require the pod to be run on a node that has multiple labels set. And that dictates where your application will be running. So pretty much the same story with the virtual machines. So if you know how to send your pod to a particular node, you're gonna do the same thing identically with your virtual machines. We also have affinity and anti-affinity rules. We can specify them. So for high availability reasons, for performance reasons, for latency reasons, you can specify how far from each other or how close to each other your virtual machines from the application stack are going to be. And we also have access to taints and tolerances. So you can create really sophisticated set of rules and exceptions. What kind of configuration state is required or tolerated, let's say not preferred, but tolerated in case of congestion of your nodes. So this stuff is here. The cool thing is that functionality is, I'd say, it's available in OVIRT. It's available in VMware products. I'm not sure if it's available anywhere else. So the way you can very precisely specify that I want this machine to be over there and this one has to be there, but not in here or not together with something else. So that's pretty awesome. It's not just about starting VMs. It's also about specifying where exactly you want them to be running. Then we have very nicely implemented node maintenance mode. So at any time, if you believe that the node requires some maintenance work, you can basically evacuate your virtual machines quickly with just kubectl.
It will automatically assign to the others nodes, and
so single command kubectl drain. Basically, it's a command used when you're working with Kubernetes or whenever you're working with OpenShift, and you would like to prepare one of the nodes to be in maintenance mode. You run ocadm drain. That basically it's like draining your bathtub. You pull the plug and the water goes down the pipes. And the server is empty, and now you can turn it into maintenance mode. So now imagine the same situation with virtual machines. You basically drain the node, and all your pods and VMs are going to be evacuated elsewhere, and just keep on. They will be respawned somewhere else. Node overcommit. Okay, it is something we do with containers a lot. We overcommit memory heavily, and we understand that this is something we can do. With virtual machines, you have to be very careful how you overcommit, because you can get to the situation like, you know, any bank in Bolivia or Uruguay, when people want, they basically, people go to banks in case of a problem, and the bank says, I don't have your money, because they don't. So the same situation happens here. You start 167% of available CPU time, and it's fine as long as your virtual machines don't actually use their CPU time. So what happens? How can you control that? We have node overcommit control, very nice control. Then there's automatic mechanism. There's actually a virt handler component, a container called virt handler that is running on all your nodes, and it detects whenever node becomes unresponsive. And it may lead to one of the situations when the virtual machines will be shut down, when they will be relocated, maybe the node can be restarted, fenced. There's a whole bunch of scenarios how we can react to an unresponsive node. We have also things like run strategy, when you can specify how you want your virtual machines to react to different scenarios, what happens to your nodes. Another cool thing, and this is something that attracts a lot of attention, is actually, this is one of the corner cases when virtualization still prevails. That's virtualized hardware or physical hardware exposed to virtual machines. There are some situations when you need extremely high performance. So you specify, you do things like SRIOV or DPDK or other technologies like PCI pass-through, which allow us to specify how do you expose a physical device from the host to the virtual machine. And yes, we have it. We have that, and it works, and it works beautifully. So if you'd like to build your next generation telco stack, you don't have to stick to, you know, OpenStack or other virtualization platforms. You can just jump to containerization. So that's a big game changer. Not a lot of people will use that, but there are some markets like telcos, like finance, banks, signal processing companies that require low latency and high throughput. They will love it.
We have a few questions.
Yeah, I know that.
Go in the end, but because I want to, you know, have assured that we will have a time for it. What do you really think about the virtualization future? In which direction it will go or die? What comes after KubeVirt? What's the next after the next?
What's behind the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes.
Is there life? Is there life after death? Remember, when you see a light at the end of the tunnel, run away, because it means that it's a freight train coming your way. No, but no, virtualization is not going away, because with KubeVirt, we are upgrading the way it is being delivered. We are making virtualization sexy again. And now, if I'm going to go on within a couple of next slides, I'm going to sum up the benefits of this blended approach, and that will answer your question. What do I think about and what I think about what's going to be after KubeVirt? Pomidoro. That's a Polish joke. Only Polish people will get it. Basically, I can't tell you. Not yet.
He said tomato.
Yeah.
So we don't know it.
So dedicated CPU resources. Networking policies, just like with OpenShift Kubernetes, you can use network policies to very precisely specify who can access what and where. And with network policies, you can do the same thing to your virtual machines. Yeah, baby. Host devices assignment. We have a guest agent information available and exposed from the KubeVirt enabled VMs. We have liveness and readiness probes. This is something that a lot of people don't think it's really relevant. It is whenever you're going to detect that your systems are down. So we have liveness and readiness probes, which can detect whenever a system failed to start, whenever it froze. So watchdogs can be implemented to find out that the VM is dead, and then readiness or liveness probes can take actually corrective action. Startup scripts, so, you know, the cloud init and stuff, we can use that as well. We can template. we can use regular Helm templates. We can use the OpenShift template system. We can use customize.
It's kind of like flavors in OpenStack. So
no, it's more likely customize, spelled with K in Kubernetes, when you can just create one blueprint of your application, and then whenever you would like to clone the whole thing, just provide an extra file that contains the variations. So you have one blueprint and then 27 different variants, and you just hand out the blueprint and the variant specification, and you're gonna get your copy with your customizations, which is pretty awesome. So the same thing happens here. You're gonna build like company standard application server with all the goodies in it, but with a little twist. So templating is there. Of course, we provide the DNS records and stuff. Now, to summarize, the benefits of blended approach. We can very easily manage a life cycle of the VM using GitOps, using any CI, any CD way. We can use software definition to provide this the desired state of the virtual machine, and then just pass it to the Kubernetes, and it's gonna take over from here, which is pretty cool. We can very easily expose the virtual machines to containers because they are living in the same ecosystem. We can very easily expose containers to VMs. We can share common infrastructure. That's a pretty cool thing. And that lowers the TCO dramatically. And we can very easily transition from virtual machines to containers. And I see a lot of companies who decided to go with the containers. They build entire cultures around, DevOps, around GitOps. Now, GitOps is the next big thing. Argo CD projects, all this, especially CD world. A lot of companies invested a lot of time to develop CD processes, CI processes, and build pipelines. And it would be a waste of effort to not use it again. With KubeVirt, you just start treating your virtual machines like you do treat your application and containers, which is pretty cool because you just include new type of resource in your application lifecycle, and it's gonna be automatically started, and it's gonna join the ecosystem, which is pretty awesome. So you don't have to learn new stuff to take all these old technologies and now reuse them in container context, which is pretty cool. And I'd say that the last sentence is very important. You can upgrade your VM workload lifecycle management to be as agile as your containers. That's one of the things.
Second life for the VM.
I'd say it's a second life for virtual machines. Yeah. Because a lot of people say, virtualization is dead. Let's move to containers. No, it's not that. With KubeVirt, it's gonna close this gap between virtualization and containers. We need something in between. And also, I think it's gonna prolong the life of the pure virtual machine based workloads by a couple of years. Now, what's not in the presentation, as we are time constrained, is I'm not going to discuss the actual architecture of the whole thing. It's not complicated, but you can get to this URL. The presentation will be made. It will be online, right?
Yes.
The slides will be online, so you can just watch it yourself. Click the links. So the KubeVirt.io user guide architecture. I created a quick list of very interesting links, which will give you the introduction of what it is, how to start, how it works, how to implement it. So all these links are very, very useful, and I really encourage you to watch them on your own pace. And if you would like to learn OpenShift Kubernetes, actually there's a wonderful free of charge website called learnopenshift.com. You can get there, and you're gonna get access to OpenShift cluster. That it's a very smart solution. So if you would like to learn how to use OpenShift and Kubernetes, that's a great learning aid. And definitely you need to know that if you don't want to be considered like these Solaris guys from 90s, you don't want to be obsolete, you need to do that. Right. So that would be everything, and I almost made it. I made it on time.
You made it, yeah. We have 1 minute before I will put some video on.
Yeah,
but let's go to the two more questions. I'm using the ASXi and Hyper-V. What is the DataCenter 3.0? In what tech will be make a DataCenter 3.0 when I have this technology stack? So this is a quite interesting
question. Let me read it again. I use the ASXi and Hyper-V. What is DataCenter 3? as in tag. So I believe, Ryan, your question relates to, actually, I think I answered your question already, because DataCenter 3 will be Kubernetes with KubeVirt extension, which will close the gap between virtualization and containers and will allow you to basically upgrade the lifecycle management of VMs and leverage the Kubernetes as a management tool. So that's pretty much what could be the DataCenter 3.0. That's answers.
And it's not the killer for the existing VMs. This is a really important.
That's pretty cool. So if you can't transition from virtual machine to container, you don't have to. You just pull in your virtual machine into the container infrastructure, and it keeps on running.
Okay, have you seen any production? There's a question from Angela. Have you seen across any KubeVirt implementation in production these days?
No, not yet, because it's too fresh. Remember, we're talking about something groundbreaking, that just made it to the market for you. Yeah, I know it sounds dicky, but I can't tell you anything more. But this is gonna be the next thing, and companies like Red Hat are pushing hard to make this software, popular. They made it a part of OpenShift offering. Actually, it is a part of the OpenShift offering, and I'm not sure if it's fully supported yet or is it still in tech preview. I'm not certain of that. Maybe one of the participants of the event can shed some light on that. Yes, Bishek, I'm talking about you. Okay, so Arthur says it's GA, so it's generally available, so it's no longer tech preview, which is cool. So it means that Red Hat will support whatever you throw at KubeVirt. And Zbyszek confirms it's GA too. Thank you, Red Hat guys. Both Artur Poczekalewicz, Zbyszek Paris. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's good to have a good backup.
It's good to have a backup.
Yeah.
But they also audited us. What?
Yes. What are they talking about?
Yeah, what are they talking
Are they
about?
trash talking us?
I will send the message to them. Okay, team. Special thanks for you. I thought that you are not so talky. Of course, I'm joking. I knew that what I need to handle with. That was a great session. Thank you for that, Monsieur Baranowski. Monsieur.
Can you bring back the slide with my logo back?
Yeah, let's go back to the OSEC one. It's important. Can we come back with the session? No, nobody wants to promote you right now.
Oh man,
is it possible?
My marketing.
You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, my slide.
Just share. Click share, and you can do it.
Oh, so it unshared.
It's unshared, so you have a power to do it.
Okay, so let me do this quickly. So
team, they saying that that was a great session. That was I was really thrilled to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And it's not the first and it's not the last time.
Definitely.
Piotr. OSEC is also from the Open Source Education Center. So if you would like to learn in Polish, but not only in Polish, just go on OSEC PL.
We actually teach worldwide.
I know.
Yeah, I just had to say it
with you. And just saying, I heard Mr. Baranowski, Monsieur Baranowski, and I want to have more discussion with the team.
Yeah.
So looking forward for it. From my perspective, it's important that we're not yet doing a KubeVirt backup, but we are ahead of R&D here.
You will.
If you, we know it. It's a future.
Yeah.
So if you were considering going into the KubeVirt project and you will look for the proper backup vendor, definitely the Storware is one of them. And today there's a worldwide backup day.
Can I make a nice announcement on your behalf?
Go on.
Like what? A couple of days ago, Storware was officially approved in the OpenShift marketplace.
Yes, and we have an operator.
Yeah, so I actually yesterday when I was fooling around with KubeVirt, I found that Storware is officially available in the OpenShift marketplace. So
yes,
nicely done, done.
Thank you. And for all of you, because we have a world backup day today, the 31st of March, we have a song for you with my band called Bear Machine, which is from our team from the Storware. The song is called In Backup We Trust, and I think it's not a premiere. It was a few weeks ago, but I think it's worth right now to stay with us the last 5 minutes to hear about it. Thank you for it. We'll just finalize the session. If you will have any more questions, do not hesitate to contact or the OSEC team or our team, and you will find us on a different social media, but definitely it's worth to go on YouTube and subscribe, so you will get the new insights from the next webinars, or just go to our website.
Yeah,
that's all, folks.
Cool.
Thank you for it, Piotr.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. And open source, baby.
In backup we trust.
In backup we trust. Yeah.